Tabata, Tabata, Tabata. How can one man mess up so much yet deliver such brilliance at the same time in the same scene? Honestly, right now, my mind is split so 50-50 on what to actually take away and think about this chapter. Listen, I know there's one thing and one thing only that people are here for, and that is just the Julius controversy that has just sprawled all across social media from this chapter. But before I actually get into that, there's a couple other things that happen in this chapter which I do want to comment on. The first, Wizard King, him being one, he's gone. He's 100% gone now. At least we hope. We hope he's gone. He better stay gone. All in all, massive letdown. Massive letdown in my opinion. I don't know if I'm the only one that thought this way, but I honestly I couldn't really care about him at all. I don't know what it is. He bored me. He didn't really do a lot, and just something about him. I couldn't get emotionally connected to his character. Like, this guy, as it is at the beginning of every single episode of the anime, almost over 100 continuous episodes, this guy's at the beginning constantly reminding us how much of a legend he is. He's the first thing we really see right at the beginning of the series in chapter 1. He's like the first thing we ever lay eyes on. Just for him to finally come back, not really do a lot, get shown up by Asta and everyone else really, and then ultimately just turn into a big pile of rocks. His impact was nowhere near as big as I expected it to be. I expected this to be a gigantic turning point and plot twist within the series whenever it was going to happen. I didn't want it to happen the way it happened. I thought that didn't hit me. And then ultimately he didn't really do much, in my opinion. Since then, he did important bits here and there, but like I said, nothing as anywhere near as huge as what I had in mind for his return. And ultimately, I'm saying ultimately a lot here, but the Magic Knights, they didn't really seem to care all that much either in this chapter. Like, when he was dying, like, none of them really cared. They moved on very quickly. I mean, some of them didn't even recognize who he was. So yeah, the first Wizard King, listen, cool, he's gone, he did his bit, he didn't do it as good as I think he should have done, and it wasn't what he should have done, but yeah, hopefully this Wizard King stays gone. Secondly, you've got Patry. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the thing that annoyed me the most out of the entire chapter. Yes, that's right, because I just can't shake off the feeling that we're just going to get this really boring, almost like cliche, everybody's happy type ending from it all. Like, you could say that this is his punishment, having to live with humans, the species he's hated for eternity, for years and years, hundreds of years. You could say that's his punishment, living forever alongside them, but at the end of the day, he's still got his 3 buddies, he's still got his 3 amigos, the other 3 Third Eye Elves are all still there. He's got William, the humans, the Clover Kingdom are probably going to forgive him, so it's hardly really a punishment, and that's the thing that annoyed me the most. And honestly, Rades, as much as I do like Rades, he needs to die. He's got to go, because he's a walking just mess waiting to happen in terms of just the future of the series, writing-wise, because whenever someone dies, with him still being in the series, you can't check off the feeling that Tabata is going to be like, ha! You can come back to life, you can come back to life, you can come back to life, all of that. I was slightly annoyed when Veto and all of those, and Sally and all these people, I was slightly annoyed when they came back to life. Like, if this keeps on becoming a recurring thing with Rades, then he's going to become one of my least favourite characters ever in anything, because he's just a walking poor writing mechanic. Talking of dead people, Julius, Jesus, whatever you want to call him. Now this does actually make sense. Okay, it does make sense. You can label it what you want, but objectively, it's not an ass pull. A stupid decision, then yes, I can give you that one because I totally agree on that statement as well. However, like it or not, Tabata planned this from the beginning. The rune that is on his forehead, yes, I now know what they are. Thanks, YouTube. Essentially, what it did is it stored up all the time that he's been stealing from other people over a number of years. It turns out that he had 13 years worth of time stored up in there, and that's what he actually used to come back. And the definition of his rune, the star-shaped thing on his head, does actually correlate somewhat to Julius's character. So then, as you guys can see, the rune that's on his forehead is called the Hagal rune, and part of this maybe will come into effect later on or something, or it might mean something to you guys, but I couldn't pick up on it. But essentially, Hagal is a rune of delay and limitations. Now, we know he said in this chapter that it didn't happen as quickly as he expected it to. There was a delay, there was a limit to it, and that's essentially linking in straight away to this Hagal rune. It represents forces which are out of your control. It is an impersonal rune. There is no reverse, so I imagine that Julius has used up his one chance now. That was it. That was his one chance. He won't get any more. If he dies another time, he's gone. He's gone if he dies again. Rades, don't care. Don't care if you're watching this video and think, no, he's not. He's gone. He's dead. Do not, let's just carry on. Enough of that. There is no reverse, so looking at the runes around it will give a better impression as to the positivity or negativity of its presence. Now, we don't really have any runes around it in the series, so we can't really compare anything to that. Around positive runes, the delay is usually just an interruption. Around negative runes, the delay is usually a disruption. Hagal encourages caution when taking risks. Success may be reached through hard work and effort. That links back to what Julius says: in order to become Wizard King, it's through merit. And then, but usually it suggests that waiting to start new things. It may signify a change in your life's direction, or that your fate is in another person's hand. And that's again linking back to this chapter. He's had to start again, start new, you know, and his life has completely changed in this direction, and his life was ultimately in someone else's hands. That being Patry, he's the one who forced him into activating his rune ability. Oh, and one other little hint towards this is actually Julius's name. Nova Chrono, which is obviously his last name, I believe in Latin actually means new time. You know, like new time, essentially resetting his time. Exactly. So it was all there for us to see, as much as we may hate to actually see it. So to call this an ass pull, it's just silly because, like I said, the definition of ass pull is something that changes the plot dramatically with no build-up, no foreshadowing, nothing at all, just comes out of thin air. That's not what this was. For example, if Asta killed the word magic demon by somehow just using magic, like fire magic, a spirit's magic, something like that, yeah, that would be an ass pull. We knew Julius had this type of capability. He explained it to Patry. We saw it in this fight against Patry when Patry sliced open part of his chest. He rewound time slightly to a point where he did not have this wound, and he even said, like, he looked into the future and he said that to Patry, that you can't beat me. Why did none of us question that someone who can literally look into the future got the future wrong? Like, why did none of us question this? So yeah, like I said, I may not agree with it, but the foundations were there for it to happen. One thing that slightly puzzled me from it is that he says he has 13 years stored up. Now, I'm not too sure whether or not that means that he rewound time 13 years, because the way his magic seemed to have worked against Patry is, like I said, he rewound time to a point where he didn't have that injury that he sustained in the fight. So did he rewind 13 years? Because if he did, that means he's 29. There's no way that this kid is older than this man. That it does not work like that at all. So I can only think that he started fresh, like his name says, new time, and like the Hagal was saying, starting afresh. and he just started from 0, and using the 13 years he had, worked back up to 13 years old. So I imagine at this point he is 13 years old, which actually makes him younger than Asta and Yuna. Just please don't make him into a rival for Asta and Yuna and Leopold. Do you remember Leopold? Yeah, he's a character that is actually supposed to be a rival in the series, yet he doesn't do anything. Yeah, don't do that, just because the word rival in this series is severely starting to lose any sense of meaning at all. It just seems like if you're not the rival of Asta and Yuna, what's the point in being there? So yeah, don't make him into a rival, make him into a good character, just not a boring rival. Like, I can't even bear to think about Yuna saying something like, try and catch up to me, I'm your rival. Yuna, get in the bin, I used to like you. But yeah, like I said, Aspel, not at all an Aspel. Stupid decision, yes, fully 100% I can agree with you on that. Because basically the problem with bringing him back to life, I mean, technically he never really died anyway, he just reset his life. But by doing this, it's essentially just, there's no long-lasting consequences. There's nothing left to grief over after over 200 chapters worth of build-up. Like this was building up over years, an entire saga, and in the end there was no long-lasting consequences. Like the elves went from being great antagonists to puppets to just downright get them off my page, because in the end they didn't accomplish anything. They didn't at all. They got a very, very quick redemption arc just so they could get a cool team up versus the demon, which rubbed me the wrong way. You all know my opinions on the demon and how much I disliked him. So very disappointed about on the last 20? Is it been that many? 20 chapters of this arc, because it was absolutely fantastic before then. 80% or maybe even more, 85% of Black Clover is still really good and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's just that final 10, 15, 20% of Black Clover, that's unfortunately going to be what it's remembered for the foreseeable future. So Tabata, I trust you, I'm optimistic. You have to start strong in the new arc and the new saga, and you have to do it soon. Death needs to mean something. Death needs to mean something. Or does it? Does death need to mean anything? I'll pass that one on to you guys. Do you guys judge a series of characters dying? Because when I think about it personally, all of my favourite series, all of my favourite moments from those series, as sad and sadistic as it probably sounds, a lot of those moments are to do with emotional tie-ins that happen to a character's death. So, I'm not saying it needs death, but my God, does it benefit greatly if there is. So yes, Tabata, please redeem yourself. Give yourself a redemption arc now, okay? Give yourself a redemption arc. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already to become a member of the Senpai Squad. Leave all your thoughts and opinions on this chapter, because I'm sure you all have a lot to say, that's for sure, in the comment section down below. I'll be seeing you guys in another video, and I'm really looking forward to next week's chapter now. Wow, what direction is this going to go? Is he going to redeem himself? I'll see you guys in another video, but until then, peace. 執着の地獄がす寡黙なものおびき寄せられた神々の化身恐れを知らぬ剣が貫く目指す場所とはまだ見ぬ定め近づいてくる決戦の時